and alone. I feel the rain crashing down all around this empty town. I'm searching for the lost and found, but you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air like a blazing flare. Just stare, 'cause the flames will burn us. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. I used to kiss your head when you cried for me. Hold your hand while the pain was over. Keep you warm by the roaring sea. You meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. My darling dear, you're never here. When I'm in pain, you hide and disappear. Like shadows in the atmosphere, charting the stratosphere. Yeah. I prayed for you and kept you near, in hopes you'd chase away my fears. I'm on my own, you made it so, and now I'm chasing nightmares. I used to run with you through the great big leaves, laugh at you when you laugh at me. Hope for us because I believe the home was just you and me. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, I'm gonna do this on my own. No point in blaming you, you did not know. Oh, I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, I'm gonna do this on my own. No point in blaming you, you did not know. Oh, I'm gonna do this on my own. No point in blaming you, you did not know. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. wrecking ball, and I prayed for my downfall, and I found a way to reconcile, 'cause in my heart it's not worthwhile. It's a bloody battlefield where some go down, others heal. In the end it's all the same. All you can do is play the game. Oh, do we say goodbye? Refuse to question why. I'm just sad to say I'm sorry, so lie. Pretend that you're okay. Swear that you will stay. Keep trying for one day. I'm sick of all these lies. Don't care if I capsize. There's nothing left for me to hide. Don't wanna live a lie. Too many lows, too many highs. Too many things to criticize. And so I leave it all behind. Don't wanna live a lie. Life kept spitting at my feet and forced me down a dead-end street, when all I had went up in flames, burning only dark remains. I cover up every part of my skin, oh, 'cause I don't like the person within. Oh, I know I'm the one to blame. All I can do is take the shame. Oh, do we say goodbye? Refuse to question why. I'm too sad to say I'm sorry, so lie and pretend that you're okay. Swear that you will stay. Keep trying for one day. Whoa, I'm sick of all these lies. Don't care if I capsize. There's nothing left for me to hide. Don't wanna live a lie. Too many lows, too many highs. Too many things to criticize. Wanna live a lie.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to our patient health workshop. Um, hmm, my color looks a little weird. Good to be here. Good to be able to spend time with you guys. Thing. Finish from battery. um, all right, so I'm trying to just kind of streamline things before we begin. Let's see who we have on the chat. Hi, Dudley. Good evening. Good evening, Marcia. Shavona. Good evening. All right, Dennis, welcome back. Marilyn, good evening, good evening. All right, so uh, so try to get the white balance sorted out. Just a couple more minutes, guys, while we fine tune. Just bear with me. A couple more minutes. Um, all right, I guess this is as good as it's going to get tonight. I'm gonna just turn on by my camera. Whoa, that's horrible. That is horrible. uh, Where's my color? Where's my color? Um, Gotta get it better than. Oh boy. Teething pains at this late stage. I don't know what to tell you. It's not gonna get any better than this, guys. It's a little bit off-putting for me. Um, let's see how it goes. All right. Well, good evening, everyone, again, and welcome to our patient health workshop. Um, it's certainly good to be here to be able to spend the time with you guys again tonight. As we go through different things today, I'm hoping to be on my best behavior. Please don't ask too many tough questions because I have very little self control and I might be tempted to answer them. So um, let us just go through a couple administrative things. So tonight we're going to be discussing the 7 keys to getting and staying well. There's a handout for the class. I think I should probably just give you, if you want to scan the QR code, if you're able to scan it with another device, I'm going to try to give you the link, put the link in the chat so you guys can download the form. So just bear with me while I do this here real quickly. So here's the link. You can just go to the chat. Yeah, so I'm going to pin this one so that you can have it to download at your leisure. So, the 7 keys to getting and staying well. The first thing to understand as we discuss this topic is the whole issue of um, sick care versus healthcare. Sick care versus healthcare. And what we need to realize is that when it comes to the healthcare system as it exists, it is not a system that caters for healthy people, obviously, right? It's a system that focuses on taking care of sick people. And because it's focused on taking care of sick people, the decisions that are made are centered around the care of this demographic. And so it is not health care, but really sick care or illness care. And that's what we're going to be discussing or trying to separate out the distinction between the two. Because sick care, if you're going to be caring for sick people, something has to go wrong first. So we say that sick care is reactive versus true health care, which requires you to make decisions to impact somebody before they get sick. By necessity, would have to be a proactive approach. So true healthcare, caring for the healthy, is proactive, whereas sick care is reactive. Now we are in a crisis when it comes to health, and the crisis is that we're spending more and more on the cost of healthcare. I mean, healthcare costs have gone through the roof and they're really out of control. And as a consequence of that, people are really suffering to get the best quality healthcare that they can get. Now, the situation that exists for these persons is that if they don't have enough money, they can't take care of themselves. And even when you have a lot of money, sometimes, depending on what the illness is, you can still end up breaking down and going into bankruptcy. So, this is a system that is failing us. So, we are in a crisis as it relates to healthcare, and we're trying to solve a problem where the majority of people who come to the healthcare system are not coming because of um, necessarily things that require surgeries or things that require um, are caused by things that would necessitate drugs. They're caused by lifestyle problems. And so the number one reason that people are in the healthcare system right now are because they are doing things in their lives that make them sick. But we're trying to address a lifestyle problem with a solution that has nothing to do with lifestyle. It's a solution that has to do with medical interventions by way of pharmaceutical agents, drugs, or surgeries. And you cannot solve a lifestyle problem with drugs and surgeries. It just will not work. And this is why we are suffering the way we're suffering as it relates to healthcare. And so when we look into it here, what we do see is that there are two ways of thinking. There's an illness way of thinking, thinking like a sick person, and then there's a wellness way of thinking, thinking like a well person. I personally would like to think like a well person. I don't want to think like a sick person. And so I want to try to create the distinction, and hopefully you will recognize the way that you probably think might not be the way that you desire to think, and will therefore go and make changes as a result. So, illness care. Illness care is based on the notion that if something is bothering you, you simply want to do something to start to feel better. So, you might have a headache and you say, Doctor, I have a headache. Is there anything I can take to feel a little better? Or is there anything I can take to ease the pain? Because feeling better becomes your priority. But if you want to truly be healthy, if you want a true wellness approach to everything, then as it relates to this situation as well, you want to ensure that you're asking a different question. Instead of asking, what can I do in order to feel better? You can ask the question, Doc, what can I do in order to get better? Because getting better is far more valuable than simply feeling better. In fact, there are so many things that exist today, whether natural or chemical or synthetic, that can make you feel better than you currently feel without making you any healthier at all. And because of that, people can get taken advantage of pretty easily because they just want to stop suffering. Well, the reality is that that's not the best thing. And another way that we think in terms of illness, illness way of thinking is the idea that if something is wrong, then I want to achieve a state of wellness so that nothing is wrong. It's like getting well is a destination itself. It is the goal itself, and not simply the journey. Nobody cares about the journey or the process that they would have to undergo in order to achieve wellness. They want to achieve it or attain it immediately. And I can understand it because nobody wants to be suffering, right? But the reality is that if you shift your focus from the end point, from the finish line of being well, and instead shift your focus to the process of getting well, then you are more likely to stay the course, if you will. Because when we look into it, we see that persons who, let's say you want to lose weight, and let's say you currently weigh 300 pounds, you want to lose 150 pounds to get down to 150 pounds. So you embark on a journey to do this, and you do all manner of things, and you keep putting your weight, checking your weight on the scale to see what the numbers are looking like. And there are two possibilities. One is that the diet or whatever you're trying is not working and you're not losing any weight, or heaven forbid you start to gain any weight. And the second option is based on what you're doing, you're actually losing weight. Now, if it is that you're not losing weight, then the frustration is going to set in. Why am I not losing weight? And if it is that your goal is to lose weight and you are losing weight, then you know what happens when you've lost your goal weight and you're now at 150? The vast majority of people, because they're so focused on the destination, that as soon as they've lost the weight or have achieved what is considered success, they ease off the gas, so to speak, and end up going right back to where they're coming from. So if we, instead of focusing on the end point, we focus on the journey itself and say to ourselves, if I'm going to be trying to be healthier, I know that I will end up losing weight. And so in order to be healthier, these are the things that I'm going to do to increase or improve my state of health. And every time you're eating something, every time you're sacrificing something, you're doing so with a mindset that you're trying to improve your overall health. And so you're invested in the process. It's not just about the end point. You're invested in the process. And as a result, you start to get better. And so rather than simply saying, what can I do in order to get well, as if it's about the destination of wellness, you want to find out what you need to do in order to stay well. Because it doesn't make sense you get there if you can't maintain it. And the best way to maintain a good state of health is by focusing on the journey, not the destination. And you can also forget the whole notion of measuring people's quality of health by their length of life. The quality of your health cannot be determined by the length of your life. In fact, there are a lot of persons who try to make it seem as though one society is healthier than another just based on life expectancy numbers in that society. Like places like Japan and so on have very high life expectancy rates. And so, life expectation. And because of that, they are considered to be healthier than everyone else. Now, while it is partly true that the healthier you are, likelihood is that you will live longer, it does not necessarily mean that that is the case. And so, the length of your life is not a very good measure of your overall health. What's a better measure of your health is the quality of that life in which you're living. That life that which you're living. So rather than simply wanting to stay alive, ask the question, what can I do in order to feel alive? Because that feeling is way more valuable to us than simply staying alive. And so if you look at the different options here, what you will see is that instead of feel, get, stay, we get, stay, feel. Instead of feel better, get well, stay alive, we get better, stay well, and feel alive. And if we're able to do that successfully, we are well on our way to improving our health and getting back on track. Now, curious, why is pain even there? Is pain a good thing for us? Is it a bad thing for us? Who would like to suggest an answer? Is pain a good thing or a bad thing? Is pain a good thing or a bad thing? And there are some people that will argue that pain is a bad thing. Some will say pain is a good thing. But either way you look at it, I think we can all agree on something. And what we shall agree on, some say good and bad. Um, what we can all agree on is that pain has a purpose, and that purpose is simply this: it alerts us that something has changed and requires our attention. Something has changed and requires our attention. That is the purpose of pain. But there is a problem because most people think that pain will always tell them when something is wrong. And the problem is that pain doesn't always tell you when something is wrong. So you can't simply rely on pain to be your guide to how well you're doing or not doing. Pain is not a good measuring stick for how healthy you are. And the reason you can't trust pain is that it's simply that because you feel good does not mean that you're in good health. Feeling good and good health are not synonymous. It is possible to feel perfectly fine but be very sick, as can be the case with people with breast cancer or other cancers. In the early stages, they may not even know that they have cancer ravaging their bodies. And so we want to do a little bit more than simply equating good health to feeling good. A better equation to make is to say good health is equal to healthy function. I mean, if your body's working the way it's supposed to work, if it's functioning properly, then good health should be the automatic byproduct. So healthy function is the product. Good health is the byproduct. All right. So we want to make sure our health is in good shape. So we need to start trusting how we're functioning, not how we're feeling. Trust our function, not our feeling. Now, there are different systems of the body, and the different systems of the body include the immune system, the digestive system, cardiovascular system, integument, nervous system, musculoskeletal system, excretory system, reproductive system, and endocrine system. Oh, sorry, and respiratory system as well. These are the different systems of the body. And there's something important to recognize. The important thing to recognize in this is that the different systems have different levels of importance to them. And the level of importance for these systems are of such that they are all in communication with each other. Meaning that if one system goes down, it affects other systems. There's no one system that is an island to itself. For example, your respiratory system and your cardiovascular system are intimately intertwined. And if it is that something goes wrong with your respiratory system, it will affect your heart. And if something goes wrong with your heart, it will affect your respiratory system. However, there's one system that not only interacts with the other systems, but is necessary for the communication and proper functioning of all the other systems of the body. So the question is, what system is that? And the system is our nervous system. Our nervous system is the one system that is directly connected to all the others and is considered to be the master control system of the body. The master control system of the body. So spinal misalignments are called vertebral subluxations. They are misalignments of the spine. And wherever you have a misalignment in the spine, which we call a vertebral subluxation, that can interfere with the function of the nerves. And when we look into it, we see that these are the different organs of the body on the left-hand side of the screen. And these are these yellow and blue lines that's going from the spine to these organs are the nerves. And these are literal nerves that travel from the spine to the different portions. That when something goes wrong with the nerves, it can interfere with the function of whatever organ is depending on it. So this is important for us to recognize. Very important. Now when you look at a subluxation, if you look at this middle bone here, that middle bone is out of alignment with the rest of the bones. And because it's out of alignment, the opening in the back here where the nerves are supposed to exit gets closed off. And as it gets closed off, the nerve that travels between that opening starts to become pinched, and whatever that nerve controls will be affected. So if this nerve controls your swallowing tube, your esophagus for swallowing, then it may cause you to have symptoms like acid reflux or GERD. And there are many other ways that it can impact us. That's just one of many. Now, lifestyle stresses are the main reason for subluxations or breakdown in our systems to occur. And there are three types of lifestyle stresses. I'm going to just touch on them really quickly. There are the physical, like car accidents, trauma, falls, injuries, things of that nature. Biochemical stresses, like chemicals in our foods, chemicals that we drink, we put on our skin, lotion, potions, medications, as well as perfumes, things like that. There are many things that we can do that can impact us negatively, and we have to be very careful. And the last one is the psychological, like the neuro emotional stresses that occur, like horrible relationship, you're not talking to your mother, you're at a job where you're stressed and nobody seems to care about your well being, that kind of a thing. So these are the three types of stressors. The healthier our nervous system is the better we're able to adapt to our environmental stresses. And so we're going to show you by way of an adaptation system how that might look. We call this our general adaptive potential or gap. The ability of our bodies to adapt to our environmental stresses. And it's important to point out as well that the a gap will have boundaries. It will have an upper limit and a lower limit. The space between which is what we call a gap. And so that's what we're going to use as our analogy to explain the whole concept of our general adaptive potential. So when something goes wrong in our system, once our bodies are able to adapt to it, hence adaptive, we don't break down and we don't get sick. If we are no longer able to adapt, that's when we break down, and that is cause for concern. So if it is that the upper limit of our gap is wider still, the wider it is the closer we approach vitality or optimal health. The narrower it is the closer we approach death. So wider the gap, the higher the upper limit, the closer we approach vitality. The narrower the gap, the lower the upper limit. As the upper limit approaches the lower limit, you are approaching death. And when you are dead, you're no longer able to adapt to anything in your environment, and you become one with your environment, ashes to ashes and dust to dust. So our external stressors or external stresses or our environmental stresses are the things that will cause our upper limit to fall. So we have to be careful. And the only thing that we have to oppose that is our internal resistance. This internal resistance is what allows us to overcome the stresses of our external environment. As long as our life experiences occur within the boundaries of our gap, we don't break down and we don't get sick. That is key. As long as it exists within the boundaries, we don't break down, we don't get sick. Now, if it is that somebody stresses us out and it adds to our overall stress burden and our internal resistance is not high enough to oppose that, then what ends up happening is our upper limit will fall, and things that we were once able to resist before, we no longer are able to resist, and so we break down in these areas. For some people, it is because of cancer in our families. Of some people, it's diabetes in our families. But whatever it is, that is where we're vulnerable. That's where might display their weakness, and so we may falter at that point. So these are the reasons we get sick. Our goal has to be keep our gaps as wide as possible so that we do not break down and allow our bodies to be rested enough to keep our internal resistive environment strong enough to oppose whatever external stressors there might be. So I hope that makes some sense. Now, when we look at chiropractic, there are some people who are of the viewpoint, probably largely chiropractors, who think that chiropractic is all you need in order to be well. The reality is that you need a lot more than just chiropractic, because chiropractic is just one aspect of overall health. An important one, yes, but it's only one. So if you're not doing things to be healthy, like eating appropriately, resting appropriately, you can't simply be taking chiropractic as your only measure and think that you're gonna do much. And yes, chiropractic can improve your nervous system function, which which in turn means that it can improve your or widen your gap. But if we don't care for ourselves appropriately enough, then that gap will not be widening, and so we will break down. We're almost done now because we're now on key number 6 of 7, identifying subluxations wherever and whenever they are happening. And at our office, we have specialized technology that assists us in doing this. And so we want to make sure that we are doing what we can to protect ourselves, or to know when something's going wrong so we can early in quick time address it so that we can be fine. So at Gardner Chiropractic, we use 2 specific tools: a surface EMG machine called a surface electromyography, which measures muscle tension in the spine. Wherever there's a subluxation, it may impact the muscles, and so we can measure the muscles to see if something's off. The second thing is a rolling thermal scan, which measures the temperature of the skin, and the temperature of the skin is what tells us where something is off, especially of the nerves that affect our blood vessels, our organs, and our glands. These are important measuring tools. Now, if you want to know what kind of doctor a chiropractor is, a chiropractor is a nervous system doctor. So what we do impacts the nervous system. We're more of a nervous system doctor than we are a bone doctor, because the bones don't really change a whole lot, but the nervous system actually will adapt quite a bit. So this is something to bear in mind. Now, a woman was asked, and in this experiment to assess the effectiveness of chiropractic care, a woman was asked to wiggle her left ankle, and a functional MRI of her brain was done. A functional MRI will give you like real time information about what's happening with the brain and represent the areas of activity by different intensity lights or different color lights. So this was before the adjustment and asked to wiggle her left ankle, and this is after the adjustment and asked to wiggle her left ankle. When she wiggled her left ankle before she was adjusted, there were lights everywhere all over her brain, which indicates that there is some amount of what do you call it, inefficiency in the brain. Too many areas are involved in that simple task. The fewer areas that are required to allow you to do a task is the more efficient your brain is. And in this case, if you look at the right after the adjustment, fewer areas of activity, which confirms that after an adjustment, your effectiveness or efficiency of your brain at functioning, doing tasks, ability to see the body and control the body is far improved. So as I indicated before, chiropractors are not bone doctors. We are nervous system doctors. I hope that makes some sense. Now, I'm a chiropractic neurologist, and there's certain special training that I have that allows me to call myself such. We are right. All chiropractors are trained to realign the spine, but chiropractic neurologists also retrain the brain itself. So we do so with exercises and activities and so on that can target different parts of the brain to stimulate or to calm them down depending on what's happening in the area. Now, these are some examples of things that we treat at Gardner Chiropractic using our chiropractic neurology model. But just because we treat these things don't mean that everybody who has these things will get better. It really depends on what the cause is and how severe it is. So you see autism there, you see dizziness, motion sickness, and so on. These are all conditions that I have treated here at the office. Now, our vision here are threefold. One is to identify subluxations, and this is where our technology comes in. Two, to provide a program of chiropractic care that is tailored for the individual. So when somebody comes to us, we examine them, and based on what we find is what we use to put together their plan. So your treatment plan is based on what is appropriate or most appropriate for you. And the third thing is to educate our community. Having sessions like this is one way that we educate our community, but there are many other ways to educate our community. One is a radio program that we do every Tuesday evening on RJR, Radio Jamaica 94 FM, and other methods as well. And these are important. And the last one is to take responsibility for our health. Who is responsible for the health and well-being of our families? We are, parents. Who's responsible for the health and well-being for your children? The adults are. Who's responsible for your own health and well-being? As long as you are able to function, you are responsible for your own health and well-being. And it's important that you make wise choices for yourself, for your families, certainly for your children. Now, if you go to our webpage or YouTube channel, you will see that we have some videos on there. One of those videos is or one folder for the videos is our video testimonials. And these testimonials are, I like them. They help to shed some light as to how what we do impacts people. But I try not to do too many of them because people end up loving these things and end up coming into the office. And the office right now is not able to accommodate everybody that's here. So persons are upset when they realize that there's a long wait to be seen. But we do the best we can, right? Now, here is a special offer for anyone who made it to this point. The RGR program is 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Tuesday evening. So every Tuesday, 8 to 9 p.m. Jamaica time, this is when we have our this is when we have our radio program. We do see a couple questions here, so I'll go ahead and just finish up and then answer these questions for you guys. So, for anyone who is interested in making an appointment, right, to come see us, we're offering a special discount for everyone who watches this video who would like to make an appointment, so that you don't have to spend all the money that you have in the world to do so. So anyone who desires to make an appointment tonight, and all you have to do, because everybody on my team, nobody on my team is here, but all you have to do is send an email to appointments@gcnjamaica.com, appointments@gcnjamaica.com. I've entered it in the chat. And let them know that you watched the video and you'd like to take advantage of the special discount offer. So that discount is a 40% discount off your new patient exam and scan fees, provided that you're not an existing patient. Also, there's a 20% discount off your update examination. This is for our existing patients now. The first one is for new patients, anybody who has never been to our office before. Even if you've already made your appointment, as long as you've not yet come into the office and done your exam, then you can get this 40% discount. But otherwise, if you fall into the other category, then you'll get a 20% discount off your update exam, plus a 20% discount off one treatment per person that is referred, and a phase discount of 10% off the next phase of care. So let us see how that one works out. And it seems to work out well. So, we encourage persons to share the information with others so that they can benefit as well. But it is what it is. We don't try to hoax people. As a matter of fact, we are so saturated with persons that people oftentimes are frustrated with the wait. But be patient with us. Ways that you can get in touch with us, our different handles on our different social media accounts are for our website, gcnjamaica.com. For Facebook, facebook.com/GCN Jamaica. On YouTube, it will be Gardner Chiropractic. On Facebook, for our program on RJR, it's called Back to Health Talk Show. So it's Back to Health Talk Show. Type that whole phrase in without a space. Back to Health Talk Show. And it will take you to our Facebook page where you can watch archives of videos that we've done of different topics. So this is where we are. We've gotten to a good point, and so we'll stop here. But I know that there were a couple questions, so I'll try to address those questions before I leave. But thank you so much for joining us. You're welcome to jump off if you want at any time now. But let's share the information as persons have written in their own specific requests. So one question here. Question is, what is the vagus nerve? And it's vagus, Vagus, not Vegas, vagus. And vagus nerve is a nerve that comes from the brainstem, not the spine. It's not a spinal nerve. It's a brainstem nerve, what we call a cranial nerve. And that nerve travels from the brainstem down in the neck and goes down following the esophagus, going down into our areas where the lungs are, and go to all our internal organs up to the first 2/3 of the colon or the large intestines. The bottom third of the large intestines, along with some of the lower organs, are controlled. Typing error. Where? Let us know, GR 3281, where the typing error is so we can correct it. But the last 2/3, the last third of the organs, or the last third of the colon, and the rest of the organs in the pelvis are controlled by a different nerve. Vagus. Okay, yes. I see that. Yes, sorry about that, but yeah. Yes, are controlled by a different nerve that comes from the sacrum, and that's a very important nerve as well. But the vagus nerve is responsible largely for the function of our internal environment. Most of the organs inside our system are controlled by the vagus nerve or branches of the vagus nerve. Next thing, I guess. Question, Dennis asked whether or not the hurricane spared our clinic, and the answer is yes. The good thing is that Kingston wasn't hit as hard, so we did very well as far as the hurricane is concerned. Just some minor damage to the property that we're trying to rectify, but the building itself was fine. We didn't lose the roof or anything or any windows. So we did well. And we have some lignum vitae trees in our parking area that offers very good protection from the wind. So thank you very much, Dennis. All right. So can removing the thyroid gland really cause dementia? And there has been talk, and yes, I also have been reading things where this has been suggested. Um, Dementia or Alzheimer's specifically is a metabolic disorder. It's a metabolic disorder, very similar to how when you look at conditions like diabetes, diabetes is considered a metabolic disorder because it affects our ability to metabolize things, sugars in particular. And so um, we know now that Alzheimer's is similar. It is a metabolic disorder. In fact, Alzheimer's has a special alternate name. And the alternate name for Alzheimer's is type 3 diabetes. Type 3 diabetes. So you can look up that information, type 3 diabetes. Yeah, there are many wonderful books out there that give us good information. All right. Anything else? Anyone else has a question? Has a question that they'd like to share? I think that's it. Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, it was a pleasure getting to spend time with you. We are now at the 1 hour mark. So, blessings to you. Do have a wonderful, blessed day and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I think this will be our last patient health workshop class for the rest of the year. Um, it is possible that I may actually do a live class again in January. What should we be eating? Jan Jan is asking. Who is Jan Jan? Janice. Hey, Janice. All right. Tricky question to answer. What should we be eating? Because there are a lot of things as far as food is concerned that are great guidelines. So I'll try to give you a guideline, right? That will help to ensure that you can have a good overall understanding. When it comes to eating well, variety is critical. So I know people like me like eating the same things all the time. I might have the same breakfast every single day for months and be satisfied with that. But it's dangerous to have one type of food all the time because if there's something lacking in that food that you're eating, then it will be lacking from your diet. So you want to make sure you have a wide variety of things. The wider the variety is, the better. So we usually say to persons, have a rainbow on your plate. Have multiple different colors of foods on your plate. Preferably um, greens, vegetables, and so forth. Preferably. But it doesn't mean that you have to only eat vegetarian vegetables or so on. You can probably eat other things as well, but wisdom is important. Now, the Bible gives us some very interesting pointers as far as it relates to what can be eaten and what should not be eaten. And there are some people who enjoy food so much that it's more about the taste of food rather than what the food is doing for you. So they couldn't care less about recommendations that are made in any other way. But there are certain types of foods that you want to try to avoid because they do make us sick. Um, what I've come to realize nowadays is that chicken, for example, which people used to think chicken is healthy, and they say avoid red meat and eat white meat like chicken. The reality is that the way chicken is done nowadays, especially here in Jamaica, the chickens are so unhealthy that they may be more unhealthy than beef. So I don't normally recommend these days having chicken because it's not so good for you. So I've actually put aside chicken myself. I don't go to places like KFC or those things because them doing something to the chicken, man. People are addicted to that thing too much. I'm convinced they're doing something to it because people can't be so addicted. But yeah, so that's something that you can do. Have a rainbow on your plate, limit the meats that you're eating, and if you're going to eat meats, preferably if you're going to eat like beef or mutton um, or things like that, it's great if you know the farmer and know the butcher and know the way that the animal was prepared and slaughtered and raised so that you know if it's good quality that you're getting. All right? Commercially grown things are not the best usually. But hopefully that does help. Oh, by the way, there's another rule of thumb, Janice, and it says eat like a king in the morning, like a prince in the afternoon, and like a pauper in the evening. Eat like a king in the morning, like a prince in the afternoon, and like a pauper in the evening. So your biggest meal really should be your breakfast, but then you should start to taper down as you get closer to bedtime as to how much food you're eating. So thanks everyone for your time. I do hope that you enjoy the rest of your evening and be safe. And my heart goes out to everyone who was affected by the hurricane. All my friends on the western part of the island. All the best to you, and we wish you a speedy recovery. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a wonderful night. Good night, Jan.